Today I am creating more functional and decorative pieces for my home. Hey there, my name is Yami. I am your Latina next door. Welcome back to my channel. I love making my home beautiful by creating high-end home decor and DIYs on a budget. And if you enjoy that too, please make sure to give this video a like and subscribe so that you too can become part of the familia. Before we begin, I'd like to thank my sponsor Cricut for partnering with me on this video. I believe that customizing your home decor pieces to fit your personality and your style is one of the best ways to make your home unique and stand out from everybody else's. So I have some beautiful home decor projects that I want to share with you all, and you won't believe how easy these are to recreate. Let's get started. So for this first DIY, we're going to be using these little containers that you can buy at your local Dollar Tree. They're usually found in the spring organization section, but I've seen them year-round. Now, this is a project that I actually saw on Pinterest a long time ago, and I thought I'd try it out, and I finally had the time to try and put this together. Now, what you're going to want to do is separate the clear little drawers and remove each of the little handles on each of the boxes. I decided to go with this black flat spray paint for this, but you can use any color you like. You could even go with a glossy. Mine ended up looking a little glossy because I ended up using a clear gloss sealer so that when I put the drawers back in, it wouldn't start to automatically peel and it would have a lot harder finish. You do want to give this several coats. I ended up focusing a lot on the front and the sides and the back and on the inside slides of the drawers. You don't need to worry about the bottom or the top of these as much, and you will see why in a little bit. Now while those are drying, you will need 4 boards. These were scrap wood boards that I had for a while now. They were already cut, which is why I don't have the footage of me actually cutting them, but they were the length of all 4 of the containers as well as the height, and you will see that I'll be creating a box to go around them. I will be staining all the pieces in the color Early American by Vase, and I'm making sure that I get all sides of all 4 boards. While those dry, I got these cute little catalog drawer pulls. I got these online and I will be linking them in the description box below. I think they're perfect and they come in a really large pack so that you can do different DIYs with them. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be attaching these to these cute little drawers. I placed them where I wanted them, and then with a Sharpie I marked the little holes. Then I took this little sharp tool, I got this at Dollar Tree in their craft section, and I just pierced a hole where I had made those markings. It goes straight through with no problems. Just be sure you're very careful and don't poke yourself. The little pulls come with the little screws that are needed in order to attach them, and all you have to do is screw them in. Now, because the little screws will be exposed on the inside, what I like to do is I like to come in with my glue gun and add a little bead of hot glue on the ends of the little screws, and it kind of covers it up and it doesn't let it be pointy, obviously, so that, I don't have any accidents when I open up the drawer and get whatever I need. And this works pretty well. I did this to all 8 of the little drawers. Next, I went into Cricut's Design Studios to create some cute little labels for the little tags, and my font for this is DTC Shiplap. I always get questions on my font, so I decided to go ahead and make sure and say it here. Now, so far all I've done was create text and select my font. Next, I am just going to make sure that I make it small enough in order to fit into my little pull labels. After that, I will duplicate them and create the rest of the labels. For this, we're going to be doing a print and cut, which is super helpful when you have a lot of small little labels like this that you need to create, and you want to have a nice font for it, and you want to make sure that they're cut precisely the size that you need. After you have all of your words, I'm still not done because I am doing 8 total. I want to show you that all you need to do is select the shape button, and then you're going to pick the square. You're going to change it up to suit the size that you need. And I had already measured the little labels, and I knew that I needed them a particular size. Once I do that, I make sure to lock the aspect ratio on the lower left corner, as you saw right there. I place it in front of the word, and then I send it to the back so that I can see how it fits on the label. Then I duplicated the rectangles to create the rest of the labels. Now, some of the words were a little bit longer and bigger, so I had to adjust them, make them a little bit smaller so that they looked better on the labels once they were printed. But as you saw here, I just had fun creating new little rectangles and then adding the words to the front of them. Now, always remember, when you're doing a print and cut where you have something that you want to write along with something that you want to cut, and you're creating the entire design like this, you want to make sure that the words are on pen and the square is on cut. That way you don't cut everything. When you're done with all of your labels, just make sure again that everything is on pen and cut that needs to be. Then grab everything, attach it together, and then send it to the Cricut Maker. Double check that both pen and basic cut are selected and you have enough space between each of the labels, and then just hit continue. Then I just remove the labels once they're done, and I honestly like to take the labels off first, and then I remove the rest of the paper that's on the mat. Once I remove them all, it's time to label the little drawers. And because I had secured them so tightly, yes, they were a little bit of a pain to get inside, but with my Cricut tools, I was actually able to get them through just fine. And next you get to see my really messy workstation. Yes, by the way, we are definitely already in the works for my new studio, and I will be sharing very soon all of the details and everything that we're going to be doing in that space, so don't miss out. I promise it's coming, and I'm so excited. All right, back to our program. As you see here, I put the little containers on the inside of these boards, and they fit perfectly. Now, as you can see, I'm going to be putting the 2 smaller pieces on the outside and then adding the other piece on the very top. So I'm going to create like the rustic little crate that goes around these little drawers. Once I made sure that everything was going to look fine in the final dry fit, I began to use wood glue, and then I am going to be using the nail gun in order to hold the boards in place while the wood glue dries. And I did use 3 nails, both ends and in the middle on all 4 sides. And next, it was time to fill up all of those little drawers with a whole bunch of my craft stuff in my craft room. Now, one thing I didn't do, which I might do in the future, is glue down each of these little frames onto the wood crate. But for right now, they're just freestanding and they work just fine. Now, if you're interested in checking out any of the products that I'm using to create these DIYs, I will have a link to Cricut's website in my description box below, as well as link any of their products that I might be using and any other items that I might be using for these DIYs as well. So don't forget to check below. Alright, so for this next DIY, we're going to be using some of these glass cylinders that I got from Dollar Tree, but you can use any old candle holder that you may have on hand, as well as some of this contact paper, which is the same contact paper that I used to create my beautiful American map flag in my latest Trash or Treasure video. If you haven't seen it, I'll make sure to link to it for you guys. And since I had some of that contact paper still left, I wanted to use it in a way that nobody's used it before, and I want to show you what you can do with your Cricut to create something unique for a vase like this. So the first thing I did was get the shape. I got the square and then I made it into a long rectangle. Now, before you do this, make sure you take the perimeter measurement of your vase, because this is going to go all the way around the vase. You also want to take the height of the pattern, not the height of the vase, because you want to leave about half an inch to a whole inch from top to bottom for what we're about to do. Once we know all that, we're going to create our pattern, and I'm just going to keep repeating this rectangular pattern up until the point where I need it. Once I have enough of my pattern, I'm going to take another square. This time I am going to make it larger than the entire pattern that I had just created. And I'm going to make it a rectangle as well. Once I'm happy with my pattern, I am just going to select all of it and make it nice and one color, as well as attach it so it's just one design. And then I'd set it to cut. Now you can do this both ways. You can remove the inside or you can remove the outside. I am going to go ahead and remove the inside of the cutout. I'm going to do a quick dry fit to make sure everything looks good, and as you can see here, there's a little bit of an overlay, so I'm going to cut that off. And that fits much better. Next, I'm just going to apply my transfer tape, pull the backing off, and then apply it to the glassware. And then remove the transfer tape. Now once I removed the transfer tape, I added a little bit of white sand as well as a couple of candles, and I had some redone candle holders. For my next DIY, I have these really sad looking little pots. One of them even has a crack, and I decided I want to give them a really nice makeover to make them look kind of like concrete. And I used leftover joint compound, which is the same stuff that I used to remake that really ugly thrifted green vase into something a little bit more chic for my home. I had some again left over, so I decided to go ahead and apply it to all three of these and see if I can give this a complete transformation. Now, unlike the vase that I remade, these are going to look a little bit rougher because I want them to look like old cement pots. So I'm not going to be sanding any of this down, and honestly, the more imperfect that I applied it, the better I liked it. So you don't have to be a complete expert in DIY to do something like this. Anyone can do this. Now once they were all dry, I came back in with some black and white simple chalk paint, and I began to just mix them together until I had the hue that I was looking for. Added a little bit of baking soda to add even more texture to the piece, and I just kept mixing it until I was happy with the consistency. I even had to add a little bit of water since the baking soda dried my paint out a little bit more. I ended up going with a bit of a darker hue at first, and I didn't even mix everything absolutely completely because I wanted it to look aged and I wanted to have nice color variation. So all I did was I took a chip brush and I began just dabbing the paint throughout the entire pot. Again, not looking for perfection and not even covering everything, because I like that variation in color and I like the dimension it gave it. You also want to make sure you paint on the inside of the pot. You don't have to go all the way down. I didn't have to because I will be putting soil in this, but just make sure that you go on the inside as well as far as you need it, so that it actually looks authentic and not a painted pot. Once the 3 pots were dry, I came back in with my chip brush and I applied a lighter version of that gray, again in the same way that I applied the darker gray. The final step is to go in with the chip brush again with the white this time, and just the white, and just add specks of white throughout, again very rough, and trying not to blend it in. You want this as rustic as possible in order for it to look like aged concrete. If this is just going to be for decorative purposes, you don't need to do anything else. But because I'm going to be actually planting herbs in this, I'm going to be using Debbie's Design Diaries DIY wax, which I know is made from all natural ingredients and will not harm my plants or me, because I will be ingesting these herbs. So I gave everything a nice coat of this wax, both on the outside as well as the inside. The outside is because I will be watering it and I don't want the water to start reactivating the chalk paint and having it fall off, as well as the inside portion of the pot. That's going to be touching the soil where I am going to have my herbs. So I wanted to make sure that both the outside and the inside was sealed with something safe. Now, because these don't have any drainage holes, I'm going to go ahead and put some of these Dollar Tree river rocks on the bottom so that their roots won't rot and it will get just enough water as necessary. Now, I will be planting little seeds that were gifted to me, and I did use some organic potting soil for this. I went outside and filled it up because it turns into a huge mess. And I just planted the little seeds and covered them up. I apologize for the weird lighting, but it had been raining that morning. Now for these, I did create little labels to go on the little pots so that I don't forget which plant is which. And so for here, I decided to do them vertically because that's how my tags are. So what I did was I just put each letter and then hit enter, and then it applied the next letter and then hit enter, and then the next letter and hit enter in order to create a vertical line. I also reduced the space between the lines, and then I center aligned them to get them nice and straight and up and down. So then I picked a font that I liked, and then I kept them, and then I applied them. Now, little fonts like this can be super tricky, but I do like the nice clean look that they give any of my projects. Now remember the previous little flag tote that I created in my Trash to Treasure video? Well, I had 2 of those totes, and in this one I am going to be creating another tote with another design. My parents are probably my biggest marketing group. They tell absolutely everybody about my channel, and I adore them for it. However, it's really hard for me to just go out and tell people about what it is that I do, probably because a lot of people don't take it seriously. So since I'm always a lot more hesitant to share what I do or who I am, I thought, why not create a cute little tote that I can carry out with some of my things, and that way I'll be representing who I am but not having to actually say it. Plus, my husband for the longest time has been trying to root me on and get me to start a merchandise line for my channel. And again, I haven't done it because I always think that nobody's gonna want it. So here I am creating my logo on this cute little tote just for me for right now, so that I can get used to having something like that. And I love using the iron-on vinyl. I think it's so great to create any design on absolutely anything. And once I create it, as you can see here, I made sure to print it mirrored because again, we need to iron it on. And I'm pulling it off, as you see, and then I'm gonna apply it onto my second little tote with the Easy Press. I like to make sure everything is nice and centered, and of course, as you can see, this is just a black and white option, but I hope to be able to do a lot more colors and a lot more intricate designs in the future. When doing this, always make sure to check on Cricut's website for the exact heat settings and timing. And when you pull off the plastic, just make sure it has cooled off a little bit before you do. Now for my final design. This one ended up being really charming, and it even has a holiday feel, even though that is not what I was going, but I'll show you. This little frame is from Dollar Tree, and I thought it was really adorable with the cute gold border. First thing I did was take it apart. Next, I had this really beautiful handwritten scrapbook paper that I've had for a while in my stash. And what I decided to do is go ahead and do a cutout of the exact size of the inside of the frame. I just use a simple box cutter for this. Now, another item that you guys always ask me about is my box cutter. I actually got this from my husband's job. He brought it home one day, but I was able to find it on Amazon, so I'll go ahead and link to it for you guys below. It's actually a really good box cutter. It's super high quality and really durable, and I use it all the time. So I wanted this to be a very charming layered piece of art. So I found this really pretty boxwood wreath online that I just uploaded to Cricut Design. And then I made it a print and cut file. Now this is really simple. All you do is upload it, select print and cut, and then what you do is you send it to your printer, and then from your printer you bring it to your Cricut, and that little border that you see, that is the border that's going to tell your Cricut exactly where to cut. And all I used was simple cardstock paper that I had on hand and nothing fancy. Look at how cute that little boxwood wreath came out. And then I was just going to apply it on top of that paper, and all I used was a glue stick to adhere it onto the scrapbook paper. And although it was not my intention, it does look very holiday, but I think it also works with a farmhouse, a neutral, or even a classic neutral style, since it has the beautiful gold border on the frame. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to let me know which one of these DIYs was your favorite. I have a link to Cricut as well as all of the supplies that I use in today's video in my description box below. Thank you again to Cricut for partnering with me on another video, and I will see you guys here next week with another home decor and DIY video. Until then, adios!